Registering a conservation variety in Finland. A Finnish native plant is one that has been kept in cultivation on the farm or one that has been propagated from gene bank material, and that one can be registered as a conservation variety in Finland. When registering, you must prove that the native plant is different from other plants or that it is an old commercial variety that is no longer on the list of varieties or an altered strain of such a variety. This verification is carried out on the behalf of the food authority by means of a survey for the plant. The survey usually takes 1 to 2 growing seasons depending on the plant in question. Right to sell the seeds. The person who makes the registration does not have to be the same person who cultivates it. When registering, you can tell if another person will be growing it. The person who registered a conservation variety will receive the right to sell the seeds of the plant. If the variety originates from the gene bank, it will be named according to that name and there will be added a new name of the farm, for example, where it has been propagated. There is a minimum amount of seeds that you should send into the food authority for the plant survey. And the authorities are very flexible on the quantities of seed to be delivered for the plant survey. When you apply for the registering of the conservation variety, you have to fill in 2 different templates. The one is the application for registering a conservation variety and the other one is the crop information form, where then there are more information required about the crop and how you have been then growing it. For the moment, there is only one oat registered. It's a black oat, and then there are also only 3 barleys. There are then much more rye registered, and only 1 wheat. And then there are 1 alsike clover, and then a few red clovers, and then a few also turnips, and 1 buckwheat. If you keep growing a conservation variety, you can apply for support. So there is a support for this cultivation of them, and the aim of this agreement that you will make with the authorities is to maintain the cultivation of this old commercial variety or native plants and their modified strains in Finland. There will be it has been developing this system during the years. So, for example, in 2000-2006, also the native cereals and grassland crops came under the support. And then from 2007 to 13, there was added then legumes and peas, broad beans, and were also included into this support system. And then from 2014 to 18, there has been added also fodder crops and grasses, beet, seed potatoes, oil and fiber plants, and also vegetable land races, and also then old commercial varieties and modified stands of old commercial varieties for these vegetables, as well as for the other plants. About applying for the support, the native plant must be registered as a Finnish conservation variety before you make the contract. Then the grower makes a grower contract with the authorities, and it's for 5 years at a time. And you then commit to cultivate it at least 1 hectare of the variety. And for the first period of environmental aid, then the maximum aid was 600 euros per hectare per year for cereals and legumes. And for grasses, it was 450, but now since 2014 it has been only 400 per conservation variety. And the person who is applying for the support is also obligated to pay the cost of the inspection of the variety. There is not any requirement for how much you must grow this, so the minimum is this 1 hectare, and the one who have signed the contract keeps the notes of the measures taking of the plant, so normal field bookkeeping, like when was sown, when was harvested, and what was done on the field. And you have then to keep these notes for at least 4 years after the end of the contract period as well. And you can also market the seeds of this variety up to a maximum quantity per year that has been determined by the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry in Finland. And then you have to keep storage and preserve at least 2-year seed requirements for this conservation variety. For example, then if you are sowing 1 year, so the minimum amount, then you have to keep 2-year storage for sowing 1 hectare of that conservation variety. So if you have an old rye and let's say you are sowing it with 130 kilo per hectare, then you have to have in the storage at least 260 kilo of that variety. So you don't need to grow the crop each year. And then if you have a grassland, then you cannot keep the same grassland for more than 3 years. Then you have to re-establish it after 3 years again. Then mixing or crossing of these conservation varieties with other varieties of the same species shall be prevented. And besides this, then you can grow this conservation variety on as big area as you want, and you can use it for fodder or for bread, like making selling it to be made flour out of it and selling flour, for example. The application is done in Vipo service, and the Vipo service is the online transaction service for farmers in Finland. And there you can then fill out and send a support application. In Finland, the food authority people there, they are very friendly, and they help you with this application, and also in order to fill in the application, if you have some questions, then you can always call them or write them, and you will get then help in filling out the application.